Look at the world around you. Watch the masses scurry, sweat, and bleed in their endless, exhausting pursuit of wealth. They chase money. They run after it, hands outstretched, begging for a raise, pleading for an opportunity, praying for a lucky break. And what happens? The faster they chase it, the faster it runs away. It slips through their fingers like dry sand. They are trapped in a cycle of desperation, radiating an invisible energy that repels exactly what they are trying to attract. Welcome back. If you are listening to this, you are already stepping out of the herd. You are part of the minority who understands that true power is not loud and true wealth is not chased. It is commanded. Today we are going to dissect the psychology of presence. We will explore how to cultivate an aura of power so magnetic, so undeniable that you no longer have to hunt for wealth. Instead, you will force wealth, opportunities, and powerful people to find you. This is not about the superficial law of attraction you see peddled to the weak-minded. This is not about closing your eyes and wishing for a better life. This is dark psychology. This is the strategic architecture of your persona. This is about Robert Greene's 34th law of power. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. Before you speak a single word, your aura has already introduced you. Your aura is not magic. It is the invisible psychological atmosphere that surrounds you. It is the culmination of your posture, your eye contact, your internal beliefs, and your emotional control. Most people walk into a room and their aura screams of neediness. They project a frequency of scarcity. They want something from the people in that room: validation, a job, a deal, money. And here is the darkest, most brutal truth about human nature and the nature of wealth. People despise desperation. Wealth despises desperation. When you are desperate, you become a liability. You become a drain on the energy of those who actually have power. Think about it. When someone approaches you and you can instantly feel that they need something from you, what is your immediate instinct? You pull away. You raise your defenses. You lose respect for them. You perceive them as low value. Money operates on the exact same psychological frequency. Money flows toward value, power, and certainty. It runs away from doubt, panic, and neediness. If your eyes dart around nervously, if your voice shakes, if you agree too quickly, if you're always available, you are wearing the uniform of a peasant. You are signaling to the world that your time is cheap and your value is low. And the world will compensate you exactly according to the value you have, subconsciously placed upon yourself. To force wealth to find you, you must first completely eradicate the stench of desperation from your psychology. You must cultivate the lethal power of indifference. Remember what we discussed in the past. Zero emotion. Never be cheap. These are not just catchphrases. They are the foundational pillars of the aura of power. You must genuinely reach a point in your mind where you do not care if a specific deal falls through. You do not care if a specific person rejects you. You do not care if a temporary setback costs you money, because you know that your internal value is absolute. When you stop caring so much, a terrifying and beautiful shift happens. The dynamic of power flips. Suddenly, instead of you leaning in, the world starts leaning toward you. People become fascinated by your calm. In a world full of chaotic, anxious people, a perfectly calm, indifferent individual is a mystery. They appear as a solid rock in a raging river, and power naturally flows to the rock. You must train yourself to look at wealth not as a master to be served, but as a byproduct of your own dominance and mastery. The rich do not work for money. They command systems that generate money. But before you can command systems, you must command yourself. Imagine a king sitting on his throne. Does the king run frantically through the streets looking for gold? No, the king sits perfectly still. He makes his desires known with a slow, deliberate wave of his hand. The gold is brought to him. Why? Because his aura commands it. His presence demands it. The people serve him because his posture, his silence, and his absolute certainty leave them no other psychological choice. You must become the king or queen of your own reality. You must build a psychological throne room. This begins with the realization that your current state of wealth is a direct reflection of your current aura. If you are broke, it is because your aura is broke. You have allowed the world to convince you that you are a subordinate. You have accepted a secondary role in the theater of life. To change this, you have to rewire the deepest parts of your subconscious mind. You have to stop reacting and start observing. The next time you are in a negotiation, the next time you are discussing money, or simply walking into a high-status environment, I want you to slow down. Cut your speed in half. People who are powerless rush. They speak quickly because they are terrified of being interrupted. They move quickly because they believe their time is not important enough to take up space. You will do the opposite. You will walk slowly. You will pause before you answer a question. You will hold eye contact a second longer than is comfortable for the other person. You will let silence hang in the air, and you will not rush to fill it with meaningless words. Silence is heavy. Silence is expensive. Let the other person feel the weight of your silence. In that silence, they will begin to project their own insecurities, and they will subconsciously elevate your status. This is the first layer of the aura of power. We are stripping away the weak habits of the masses. But creating the void is only the beginning. Once we have destroyed the desperation, we must replace it with something far more dangerous. We must fill that void with the gravity of immense unspoken value. You're not just acting, you are undergoing an alchemical transformation. You are transmuting base metal into gold, starting with your own psychology. Think of the people who command the highest fees in the world. The top-tier consultants, the elite lawyers, the master architects. Do they ever seem in a rush? Do they ever discount their prices because someone complains? Never. Their aura dictates the price before the invoice is even sent. They understand that to be perceived as highly valuable, you must first be completely unreachable to those who do not respect your standard. You are about to learn how to build that exact same psychological fortress. You will learn the specific triggers that make high-value individuals and lucrative opportunities gravitate toward you, almost against their own will. It is a game of psychological dominance, and the rules are about to be laid out before you. We will break down exactly how to restructure your physical presence, your verbal patterns, and your psychological boundaries to create a gravitational pull that wealth cannot resist. Let us begin with the physical architecture of your aura. The way you occupy space is the most immediate, visceral indicator of your internal hierarchy. Most people fold themselves into the world. They cross their arms, they hunch their shoulders. They make themselves physically small to avoid offending anyone. They apologize for their mere existence. This is the posture of a servant. Wealth does not flow to servants. It flows to those who own the estate. To command wealth, you must first command the space you exist in. When you sit, you do not shrink. You claim your territory. You relax your shoulders, you keep your chest open, and you move with a calculated lethargy. Fast, jerky movements are a biological sign of anxiety. Predators do not rush unless they are striking. A king does not run down the hallway. He glides, fully aware that the world will wait for his arrival. When you adopt this physical stillness, you are sending a massive subconscious signal to everyone around you. I am safe. I am in control. I need nothing from you. This physical stillness must extend to your eyes. The gaze is the most potent weapon in your arsenal. When you are negotiating, when you are discussing money, or when you are simply introducing yourself to someone of high status, pay close attention to your eyes. The subordinate always breaks eye contact first. The person who needs the deal looks away, looks down, or nervously scans the room. You must train yourself to hold the gaze, not with aggression, but with an unnerving, absolute calm. Look into their eyes as if you are reading their internal code, as if you already know their weaknesses and their desires. When you hold eye contact while remaining completely relaxed, it creates a psychological pressure. The other person will feel compelled to fill that pressure by offering you more respect, better terms, more money. They will subconsciously try to win your approval because your unwavering gaze has positioned you as the ultimate authority in the room. But physical presence is only half of the equation. To force wealth to find you, you must master the economy of words. Think of your words like currency. In economics, when a government prints too much money, inflation occurs, and the value of that currency drops to zero. The exact same principle applies to your speech. Robert Greene's fourth law of power is absolute. Always say less than necessary. People who are desperate for wealth talk endlessly. They over-explain their products, they justify their prices, they ramble on about their skills because they are terrified of silence. They are desperately trying to convince the other person to buy into their value. But the more they speak, the cheaper they become. Their words suffer from hyperinflation. If you want to project an aura of immense power and high value, you must become verbally scarce. When you are asked a question about your business, your price, or your value, answer directly, concisely, and then stop talking. Let the silence fall like a heavy curtain. For example, if someone questions your rate, stating that it is too expensive, the amateur will immediately start defending themselves. They will list their expenses, their years of experience, and their hard work. They will bleed out their power. The master, the individual with the aura of power, simply looks at them, holds the silence for 3 agonizing seconds, and says, "That is the price." And then they do not say another word. That silence is devastating. It forces the other person to confront their own inadequacy. It signals that you are perfectly willing to walk away from the table. You are not attached to their money because you operate from a mindset of absolute abundance. You know that if this person cannot afford your value, the next person will. This level of verbal discipline creates a gravitational pull. People are drawn to those who do not try to convince them. They want to work with the person who seems completely unfazed by the prospect of losing the deal. This brings us to one of the most critical elements of forcing wealth to find you. The strategic use of absence. Robert Greene's 16th law dictates, use absence to increase respect and honor. If you are always available, you are a commodity. Commodities are cheap. Gold is expensive because it is difficult to find. Diamonds are expensive because they are buried deep within the earth. If you want to be treated like high-value psychological gold, you must not always be accessible. Look at how the masses operate today. Their phones ring and they answer immediately. They receive an email and they reply within seconds. They are constantly connected, constantly available, constantly eager to please. They think this makes them good businessmen or reliable partners. In reality, it makes them look like they have nothing better to do. It makes them look easily replaceable. To cultivate your aura, you must introduce friction into the process of reaching you. You must create boundaries that demand respect. Do not answer every call immediately. Let them wait. Let them wonder what highly important task is currently occupying your time. When you finally do respond, do so on your own terms. By making yourself slightly unreachable, you trigger a primal instinct in human psychology. We value what we have to work for. We desire what is just slightly out of our grasp. High net worth individuals, elite opportunities, and massive wealth operate on the psychology of the chase. If you make it too easy for them to acquire your time or your services, they will assume you are of low quality. But if you become a ghost, present only when it serves your strategic purpose, and absent when it does not, you become a highly coveted prize. You transform from the hunter into the hunted. They will start pursuing you. They will offer more money just to secure a fraction of your time, because in their minds, your scarcity guarantees your exceptional quality. You are teaching the world how to treat you by the boundaries you establish. Every time you say no, every time you delay a response, every time you calmly walk away from a low-ball offer, you are reinforcing the architecture of your aura. You are projecting a frequency that says, my reality is already complete. Your money is simply a bonus, not a necessity. And ironically, it is exactly that supreme level of detachment that makes the money pour in. But creating this physical and verbal scarcity will be useless if your internal mind is secretly panicking. You can fake silence, but you cannot fake the energy of true detachment for long. The aura must be authentic, generated from a dark, unbreakable core within your psyche. We must now address the internal alchemy. We must look at how to detach your identity from the outcome, how to pass the psychological tests that wealthy people will subconsciously throw at you, and how to weaponize your own indifference. The external architecture of your aura, the silence, the heavy gaze, the calculated absence, is a formidable shield. But a shield made of glass will shatter under the first strike of a heavy hammer. You can mimic the posture of a king. You can memorize the rule of saying less than necessary. But if your internal state is still vibrating with anxiety and a desperate need for validation, the illusion will collapse. High net worth individuals, elite operators, and people of immense power are psychological predators. They have a visceral, almost supernatural ability to smell fake confidence. They will test your aura to see if the gold is solid, or if it is merely a cheap plating over rusted iron. This brings us to the core of your internal alchemy: absolute emotional detachment. You must completely sever the link between your self-worth and the external outcome of any situation. The masses tie their identity to their bank accounts, to the deals they close, and to the approval of others. If a deal falls through, they feel personally destroyed. If someone rejects them, their ego bleeds. This makes them predictable. This makes them vulnerable. And in the realm of dark psychology, vulnerability is an invitation to be exploited. To force wealth to find you, you must cultivate an internal void. You must enter the state of zero emotion. When you sit at the negotiating table, or when you walk into a room full of influence, you must genuinely convince your own subconscious mind that you do not need anything from these people. You are not there to survive, you are there to conquer. And if the terms are not to your absolute liking, you are perfectly content to leave. This is where the psychological tests begin. People of power will unconsciously and sometimes very consciously throw obstacles in your path to test the structural integrity of your aura. They will make you wait in the lobby for 30 minutes to see if you become agitated or subservient. They will offer you a low-ball price to see if you flinch or try to defend your value. They will deliver a subtle piece of disrespect, a disguised insult, just to see if they can crack your emotional control. How do the powerless react to these tests? They fail instantly. They get angry. They get defensive or worse. They smile nervously and accept the disrespect because they are terrified of losing the money. They show that their desire for the reward is greater than their respect for themselves. The moment you do this, your aura evaporates. You are categorized as a subordinate, and wealth will either avoid you or exploit you. But you operate under a different set of laws. You operate under the absolute mandate of self-sovereignty. If someone disrespects you, regardless of how beautiful they are, regardless of how rich they are or what title they hold, you must possess the lethal willingness to simply walk away. Walking away is not a sign of defeat. It is the ultimate execution of power. It is the physical manifestation of the phrase, "Stop being social." When the society in question does not serve your highest standard, it means you refuse to participate in any dynamic where your value is questioned. When they test you with disrespect or a low-ball offer, you do not argue. You do not explain why you deserve more. Arguing is a plea for understanding, and kings do not plead. You simply look at them with that cold, unwavering gaze. You gather your things, and you walk away. No anger, no dramatic exit, just cold, mechanical indifference. This reaction breaks their psychological framework. They are used to people begging for their money and their attention. When you withdraw your presence without a single trace of emotion, you trigger a massive psychological reversal. You suddenly become the prize. You become the one thing their money cannot easily buy, a person of impenetrable boundaries. By walking away from the table, you often force them to chase you down the hallway, offering you exactly what you wanted in the first place. And even if they do not chase you, you have preserved your most valuable asset, your dominant psychological state. Wealth will eventually find a person who refuses to be cheapened. You must view every interaction, every negotiation, and every setback through the lens of cold mathematics. Money does not have feelings. Wealth does not care about your struggles, your past, or your desires. It is a blind force of nature that flows along the path of least resistance toward those who are psychologically equipped to hold it. If you become emotional, you create friction. If you remain indifferent, you become a conduit. Think of the greatest masters of power in history. They did not achieve greatness by begging the world to recognize their talents. They achieved it by building an internal kingdom so rich, so secure, and so absolute that the external world had no choice but to reflect it. They made themselves the center of gravity. When you stop caring whether you win or lose a specific battle, you become invincible in the war. The aura of power is, at its root, the aura of someone who has already won the game in their own mind. You are no longer playing to survive. You are playing for the art of the game itself. You are playing to exercise your own mastery. When you reach this state of internal detachment, your external behaviors, the silence, the slow movements, the piercing eye contact, will no longer be a performance. They will be the natural, effortless expression of a sovereign mind. You will radiate a frequency of such intense self-reliance that opportunities will begin to bend toward you. People will feel a strange, magnetic pull to be in your presence, to invest in your ideas, and to offer you their resources simply because they want to associate with your certainty. We have now built the physical architecture of your aura and fortified it with the impenetrable steel of emotional detachment. You are no longer a target. You are a force. But possessing this power is only the preparation. To truly command wealth, you must know how to unleash this aura in the real world. You must know how to enter a new environment, disrupt the existing hierarchy, and position yourself at the absolute apex of the food chain. The final step is the offensive application of your presence. We must now discuss how to step out of the shadows and force the world. To hand over the crown, you have eradicated the stench of desperation. You have mastered the physical stillness, the heavy silence, and the strategic absence. You have built an internal fortress of absolute emotional detachment. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are ready to make the world react to you. Now we must transition from defense to offense. We must discuss how to weaponize your aura of power to actively force wealth into your life. To command wealth, you must understand a fundamental psychological vulnerability of those who already possess it. People of immense wealth and high status are entirely surrounded by sycophants. They are constantly bombarded by people who agree with them, flatter them, and desperately seek their approval in exchange for a piece of the pie. Over time, this makes the wealthy incredibly bored and highly suspicious. They view everyone as a potential parasite. If you enter their environment acting like everyone else, smiling too much, agreeing too quickly, and trying to prove your worth, you immediately fall into the category of the parasite. You become invisible. To disrupt this hierarchy, you must apply Robert Greene's 28th law of power. Enter action with boldness. Hesitation reveals insecurity, and insecurity destroys the aura. When you walk into a room of influence, you do not ask for a seat at the table. You behave on a subconscious level as if you own the building. You do not introduce yourself hoping they will like you. You introduce yourself to see if they are worth your time. This is the concept of controlling the frame. In every human interaction, there is an invisible psychological frame. It dictates who is the authority and who is the subordinate. The person who controls the frame controls the flow of money. Most people surrender the frame instantly when they meet someone wealthy. They let the other person dictate the pace of the conversation, the terms of the deal, and the level of respect. You must flip this dynamic completely. When you are negotiating, or pitching an idea, or simply networking, you must act as the ultimate judge. If they ask you a question designed to test you, you do not rush to answer. You pause. You evaluate the question. You might even answer their question with a question of your own. By doing this, you are subtly shifting the burden of proof. You are making them qualify themselves to you. Imagine a scenario where a powerful investor offers you a deal that is slightly below your standard. The desperate man takes it and says thank you. The emotional man gets offended and argues. But the man with the aura of power, he looks at the offer, remains completely silent, leans back in his chair and calmly says, This is not how I operate. He does not explain further. He does not negotiate against himself. He lets the words hang in the air like a guillotine. By refusing to play by their rules, by refusing to enter their frame of cheapness, you force them to enter your frame of premium value. The wealthy are psychologically wired to respect those who cannot be bought cheaply. They will suddenly see you not as a subordinate, but as an equal. And wealth flows horizontally between equals. It rarely flows downward to the desperate. This offensive application of your aura requires an absolute, unbreakable belief in your own mythology. You must recreate yourself. You must strip away the identity of the person who struggles, the person who chases, the person who hopes. You must adopt the identity of a sovereign entity, a person who simply commands reality to bend to their will. Do not misunderstand this for arrogance. Arrogance is loud. Arrogance is a mask for deep insecurity. The aura of power is quiet. It is an undeniable, heavy presence that fills the room without you having to shout. It is the quiet confidence of a predator that knows it is at the top of the food chain. The predator does not boast to its prey. It simply executes. When you internalize this, the way you experience the world will change overnight. You will stop seeing obstacles and start seeing leverage. You will stop seeing wealthy people as superiors and start seeing them as potential partners or pawns in your own game. You will realize that money is the most abundant, easily manipulated resource on the planet, provided you have the psychological architecture to hold it. Wealth is not an accident. It is not a lottery. It is a psychological mirror. If you are projecting weakness, the world will reflect poverty back to you. If you project absolute dominance, indifference, and a terrifying level of self-respect, the world has no choice but to reflect wealth, opportunity, and power back to you. You no longer have to chase the gold. You simply build the throne, sit on it in absolute stillness, and let the gold be brought to your feet. You do not ask for wealth, you command it. Now I want to leave you with a question, a test of your own self-awareness. Look back at the last 30 days of your life. Look at the deals you lost, the disrespect you tolerated, and the money that slipped through your fingers. What is the one specific, desperate habit you have been clinging to that is destroying your aura? Are you talking too much? Are you always available?